anywhere close to us right now, but something that we are going to be watching throughout the week. So you're going to hear me talking a lot about this thing. Hopefully it ends up being a non-issue for us, but we'll keep you updated regardless. Let's take a step through the latest track. Came out at 4 a.m. this morning from the National Hurricane Center. This thing's moving at a pretty good clip, about 17 miles per hour to the west-northwest. That means it's going to be moving through those very warm Northeast Caribbean waters this morning, possibly, and I would even say probably, becoming Tropical Storm Fred. That would be before it interacts with Puerto Rico or Hispaniola, where I suspect it will weaken some. This is likely, these mountainous areas, to weaken this storm to the point that on the other side, we may be looking at something different, right? The center may be different or a little less defined. The storm itself may be structured differently, which will all change the rest of what I'm about to show you. So I caution you at seeing this kind of curve that the National Hurricane Center is showing with the center line toward, say, Florida, and thinking, oh, this is not a problem for us, because there's a reason the cone gets so big 4 to 5 days out. This is a margin of error that is expected this far out, and it's not out of the question that this system stays a little bit farther south or makes its way into the southeastern Gulf. I don't say that to scare you. I hope that it does take this turn, but let's look at the steering to kind of explain why we're thinking that. The strong high pressure system is steering it for now. Then that high is going to start to back off, and there's going to be a little bit of a break between another high pressure system that's going to be over the central United States. Where that break is, how much of a break, how much of a jet stream dip we get, honestly doesn't look like a whole lot to me. And if that high kind of moves back a little bit to allow for that curvature around it, that's all in question right now. But that's going to be the general setup that we're looking at. And this high specifically, I think, will be the one that we're watching to steer this thing for the most part. All of that said, the rest of this week is going to be hot, humid, with a chance for rain. Temperatures are in the 70s and 80s. Your muggy meter shows dew points are in the low to mid 70s. So already pretty sticky out there. Live radar is showing a couple of spotty storms in southern Terrebonne Parish right now. They're on the western side of Terrebonne Bay. A couple of other showers off the eastern side of Plaquemines Parish. And rain chance wise, we're looking at about a 30 to 40% chance for the rest of the week. By the end of the week and into the weekend, I do have those chances going up, and that's not related to that tropical system. Remember, that tropical system would likely be entering the Gulf Friday into Saturday. Any impacts, if impacts to the northern Gulf Coast, would likely be happening possibly late in the weekend or early next week. So not something we need to be worried about right now, but something we should be preparing for and keeping an eye on all week long. Of course, it's going to be really hot out there. Make sure you're taking all those heat precautions. At times, the feels like temperature could be getting into the triple digits, especially during the afternoon. Quick reminder that you can call the Delta World Tire weather phone anytime for a check on the forecast. And again, that system is off to the east of this image. Right now, the Gulf is looking pretty quiet. John, Meg.
So we've got some more time to see what potentially could happen.
We've got a lot more time. Yeah, but just trying to give folks that time frame of it entering the Gulf, possibly late Friday. And so until then, it's kind of a watch and wait for us.
All right.
All right. In the meantime, let's get
way out there, but people want to know about the
people want to know. So we're going to tell them. Let's take a look at this system right now. This is Tropical Disturbance 6 is what we're calling this. Taking a look at it on satellite, couple of things that you'll notice. There is a lot of storm activity around the center and on the northern side, but notably not a whole lot on the southern side right there. And if you look at the dry air, I mean, that really explains it. There was a lot of dry air right there in that first frame, indicating that there's a lot of dry air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere right now, limiting this thing at least a little bit. But it's about to move over those warm waters of the northeastern Caribbean, so the expectation is that it could become a tropical storm later today. After that, it's going to start interacting with the islands, and this is where I say, okay, we can look at this 4 to 5 day out forecast, and I'm going to show it to you, but a lot A lot can change after that system weakens. Notice that it's not a tropical storm any longer in the forecast from the National Hurricane Center after emerging off of Hispaniola. It may interact with Cuba as well, which is another sort of mountainous area, and that could lead to further disruption of the storm, changing of where the center is, changing of the overall dynamics of the storm. And then as it moves forward, is this even the same system that it's picking up on way back there? Or is it something different that is shaped a little differently, that the center is in a little bit of a different spot? That's why the cone gets so big 4 to 5 days out, because there's this expectation of some uncertainty that far out. What we do know is that it looks decently, possible that this could be entering the Gulf. Stays on the southern side of this cone, we're going to be watching it pretty closely. If it stays on the eastern side of this cone, we can probably write this one off as not our problem. But we've got some time to watch it before that happens. A couple of things I want to point out. Once it makes its way there just south of Florida, north of Cuba, if that is the ultimate path that it takes, very hot water. When you start seeing those waters in purple, much like some of my other graphics, purple is a problem, generally speaking. And purple is where you can start to have that rapid intensification. We're definitely not seeing that right now, but we are going to see this storm possibly crossing over some extremely warm waters that could lead to that. So that's, again, something that we'll be watching later this week. Temperature-wise, we're in the 70s and 80s. It's humid out there, and it looks like we are going to see that heat and humidity continuing for us today. We have a couple of storms that are making their way right along the western side of Terrebonne Bay and possibly a bit farther north, trying to creep across that Terrebonne Parish, Lafourche Parish line. Otherwise, we're looking dry. Just a 30% chance for some spotty storms today, but I do increase those rain chances later in the week. Not because of that tropical system, different influx of moisture there that's going to help with that. Temperatures will be in those low to mid 90s for the next 7 days. And a quick reminder, you can call the Delta World Tire weather phone anytime for a check on the forecast. John, Meg.
Well, and as you pointed out, just as we were talking about it maybe close to an hour ago now, once it goes over those islands, who knows what would happen to it?
Exactly. I really think that this is a system, obviously everybody is a little worked up over because it's the first one we're paying a whole lot of attention to this year outside of Elsa. But I think this is one that we're watching and waiting at this point.
All right. Thank you, Shelby. Let's get over to
Long
Chris.
ways away, and it's a long season ahead of us as well. We are going to be keeping you up to date on what you're hearing about out there so that you're not getting that information from somewhere else that may not be as credible. Let's take a look at disturbance number 6. It's not Fred yet because, first of all, the winds aren't strong enough, and it's a little bit dry on the southern side of the storm, keeping a lot of storm activity from forming, keeping it from getting that sort of symmetrical shape. So movement right now, west-northwest at 17 miles per hour. It's moving at a pretty good clip around a high pressure system to its north. What I expect to happen here is that we are going to see this likely becoming a tropical storm as it moves over warm Northeast Caribbean waters through the day today. So we'll be looking for that. If it gets a name, it will be Fred. Then it's going to interact with these islands. And this is where I say, okay, we're not going to make any declarations about what's happening until after it gets past these islands, because once it makes land interaction with spots like the Dominican Republic and Haiti, very mountainous regions, it's very likely that it weakens. And that's even in the official National Hurricane Center forecast now, that this storm system is expected to weaken. When it weakens, it's because it's interacting with those mountains. That means that the eye may change. The center of the storm may change, the structure of the storm may change, and then what we see down the line may change because of that. Possible interaction with Cuba could be something that we're watching, and how that impacts the storm as well. Very warm water here south of Florida, and then ultimately this system could move into the Gulf of Mexico. Notice that the cone gets much bigger around 4 to 5 days out. There's a reason for that. Uncertainty is high, as it's expected to be when you're 4 to 5 days out. So let's talk about how this storm is being steered. It's got that strong high pressure that we talked about to the north. That's going to keep it on this path right through the islands. Then, as that high pressure backs off a little bit, maybe a little break in the high there, a little dip in the jet stream, although to me it doesn't look like much. that would be what could help us out, right? If that high backs off, that's going to be the main steering current that helps to pull it north before it would get deeper into the Gulf of Mexico. So there's a lot to watch, a lot that can change. But I know that that's what's on folks' minds this morning. As you wake up, you're wondering about that tropical system. So right now, nothing to worry about, just something to be prepared for and kind of watching throughout the week. The only thing you have to worry about today is the heat and the humidity. More of that. It's going to be very similar to yesterday. There will be some pop-up storms. In fact, there's already a few in southern Terrebonne Parish. Rain chances will be 30 to 40% today through Thursday. I bumped that up to about 50% Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And again, that's not because of that tropical system. That is because of a different influx of moisture that's just going to increase our rain chances. So high temperatures will likely be in the low to mid 90s over the next 7 days. It could feel like the triple digits at times. So just be aware of that. John, Meg, this is a look at that system right now. Again, not a whole lot going on southern side right now.
You know, I think you made a good point, and I think it's good sometimes for us to tell our viewers why we're doing things, and that is, you know, pre-Katrina, pre-technology, we would never have played this storm up as high in a forecast as we do, but as you point out, if we don't do it, people will get their information from that guy on the internet who thinks he knows about the weather.
Exactly. Yeah, we want to make sure you get the information from us. So if this is what you're thinking about, this is what we're going to talk about. But I do also want to say, just because I show it first in my forecast and I'm talking about it, doesn't mean that it's a concern for us at this time.
Got plenty of time to watch it.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Shelby. Let's get over to Christy.
Tropical disturbance number 6. Again, it's moving into the northeastern Caribbean. And the reason I'm even talking about something so far away is because, well, folks are getting excited about it on the internet, and I don't want you to get wrong information. Right now, this is not something that we should be overly worried about. It is something that we should be paying attention to throughout the week. But when will we have more information? That's what folks always want to know. When are we really going to know? I think we're really going to have a better idea once this thing gets past Hispaniola. A couple of things I want to point out. I'm going to go back to the satellite image and then back to that dry air I was just showing you, because we do have a lack of storm activity on the southern side, and it has to do with this dry air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere kind of wrapping around that system. That said, warmer water can help a system overcome that, and we do still expect the potential for a tropical storm to form in the northeastern Caribbean later today. If it does, it would be named Fred. Let's take a look at about 1 p.m. this afternoon, expected to be Tropical Storm Fred, and making its way there near Puerto Rico and then over Hispaniola. Again, once this system once the system gets on the other side of Hispaniola, that's when I expect that we will have a better idea of where the center of the storm is, what the structure of the storm looks like, because all of that could change when it moves over those very mountainous islands. Any interaction with Cuba could change things further, and then we're going to see that system continuing to make its way right through those really, really warm waters there just south of Florida. Where does it turn north? That's the big question, and that's still a question mark right now. So again, not something we need to be terribly worried about right now, but something that we're watching. Temperatures are in the 70s and 80s, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty muggy, warm day. Speaking of muggy, Brenda, we do have some storms that might help a few folks cool down. Most of those right now are in and around the Homa area and farther south toward Terrebonne Bay. Rain chances are about 30% today, getting up to 40 to 50% later this week and into the weekend. This is unrelated at this time to that tropical system we were talking about. Again, there's a good chance that that ends up staying east of us, but we don't know that for sure yet, and so that's why we're continuing to keep an eye on it for you. Outside of that, it looks like it's going to be pretty hot and humid. Temperatures in the low to mid 90s, and a look outside shows us plenty of sunshine. John, Meg.
You put up the mugshot of the day, and for a split second, the way your brain works, I thought it was our reporter Sabrina Wilson, who it looks like something Sabrina would wear.
They had the exact same smile. And
yeah, the style does
the
look
exact same.
I didn't even think of that. That did look very similar to Sabrina.
They can't win a hat or
they
a
need
mug.
They need to swap fashion tips.
Anyway, Christy Coleman, what's up out there?
All right, well, I'll tell you what's up.